ago, an email was circulating with the ultimate reasons you might be in the wrong church. You might be in the wrong church if the usher greets you with, "Hurry on in, the show is about ready to start." You might be in the wrong church if on the offering envelope is printed, "Please make checks payable directly to the pastor's vacation fund." You might be in the wrong church if the pastoral search committee never disbands. You might be in the wrong church if the people in the pew next to you brought your sack lunch. You might look to see at this point. You might be in the wrong church if those seeking to become members are asked to submit their W-2s for the last 5 years. Now this one, you might be in the wrong church if everyone agrees that the temperature in the sanctuary is just perfect. I don't think that's ever happened. I think I'll try to agree and I'll say, too hot, too cold, whatever. You might be in the wrong church if they refer to the 10 Commandments as the 10 suggestions and then offer to let you pick any 6. Finally, you might be in the wrong church if the minister falls asleep during his or her own sermon. Now, in each of the 4 congregations I have served over my years of ministry, I found saying goodbye most difficult. And my life has been immeasurably enriched by each of them in different ways. You don't ever erase the memories or the relationships, but rather celebrate them as a gift from God. And in the wisdom of that great philosopher, Winnie the Pooh, I am reminded, how lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Because it would be sad indeed, as we prepare to close this final chapter on our life together, if it wasn't painful. Because 12 years is a long time. And so many things have happened along the way. Now, I began with the ultimate reasons you might be in the wrong church, but I put together another list. This one is the ultimate reasons you are in the right church. And first and foremost, you are in the right church if the congregation lives as the family of God. Now, I know the metaphor may seem trite and overused, but at the same time, I can think of no other word that anywhere comes close to describing who we are together. As we laugh together, as we cry together, as we're there for one another in any way possible. And if a congregation lives out of an atmosphere of love and caring and respect, as well as appreciating the uniqueness of each and every person, they truly are the family of God. Now, some of you will remember when we worked with George Bullard on our spiritual strategic journey a few years ago, and how as a result of that we highlighted the importance of relationships. And so a few months ago, George posted, as I'm constantly seeing things that George is posting, the top 10 healthy, positive reasons people are not leaving your church. And the number 1 reason, by far, relationships. He said people who have deep, strong, long-term relationships that exhibit openness and acceptance within the church are not leaving. This is home to them. We have been there for one another in times of crisis, illness, and death. Many faithful, devoted members have died in these past 12 years. And still others find themselves physically unable to be with us any longer. And we also have those who have left to be part of other churches. And as a family, we feel those losses and we grieve them together. On a personal note, I thank you for being there for me when our granddaughter Annalise was born 9 years ago with life-threatening health concerns, and for all the surgeries which have followed, as well as when my mom died 6.5 years ago. I wouldn't have made it without you. Because families know how important it is to stay connected in those tough times. But families also know how to celebrate the good times. And we have done lots of them. There are memories of wonderful celebrations together that I will always cherish. When the African Children's Choir came, filling our sanctuary and our hearts with joy and enthusiasm and wonderful music, not just once, but twice. And then there was that fantastic weekend we spent with Ken Needham, a song we just sang a little bit ago, Lord, Listen to Your Children Praying, where we had an association youth event on Saturday afternoon, and all the kids gathered to enjoy Ken. And then the next day we worshiped together in this sanctuary. We had a big platform. Ken took up all the space. And how wonderful it was. And then that evening we had a fundraiser for the Evansville Association for the Blind and raised several $1,000s. More recently were the festivities celebrating our 125th anniversary as a congregation. It was just a little less than a year ago that we gathered on a gorgeous May Day to celebrate with live bands and activities of all sorts, and of course, great food and fellowship. And then on October 25th of last year, we gathered for our celebration worship with Dr. David Greenhaw, the president of Eden Theological Seminary, as our guest. And before the service even began, we enjoyed a magnificent concert by Mark X. Hatfield as we dedicated our new organ to the glory of God. Of course, we can't forget about the delicious meal which followed that either, or the great fellowship that we shared. Families also know how to nurture and support those within the family. And during my years of ministry with you, we have had 2 sons of this congregation who have answered the call to pastoral ministry. Both of them served on our church staff. And we proudly gathered for the ordination service for Brian Bushkill in November of 2009. And we celebrate his faithful ministry with our sister church, St. Peter's UCC. Hi. Christopher Enders is serving as Minister of Education at University Christian Church, Austin, Texas, a Disciples of Christ congregation, but you won't find him there today because he's off on his honeymoon with Samantha. They were married, as I mentioned earlier, yesterday afternoon. What a wonderful legacy you leave for pastoral leadership for years. You are in the right church if the congregation deals with its differences in a way that reflects their unity as brothers and sisters in Christ. What unites us is our common mission to love and to serve Jesus, not our like-mindedness. And there will always be differences. There will always be disagreements. There will always be conflict over one thing or another. But it's how we handle them that makes all the difference. Now, I have a deep love and appreciation for our denomination, the United Church of Christ. At a time when it seems that the rest of the world wants to give easy answers, to tell people what to believe, we value the freedom to struggle with the profound questions and issues of our time. We value the right to not have all the answers, as well as the freedom which allows us to hold differing opinions, differing theology, without the need to try to convince one another of the truth of our own. If we can't model unity with diversity within the life of the Church of Jesus Christ, what hope do we possibly have for the world humanity? Now you are in the right church if the congregation is dedicated to Christ's mission of serving others. Because commitment to and involvement in mission in the community and in the world is the heart of who we are. And you always have had a strong history of commitment to mission. Everything from building Habitat homes, to serving meals at United Caring Services, to the mission trips by various youth and young adult groups. And I think our SSJ process some years ago not only reinforced for us how important mission is, but it helped us see that God was calling us to ministry not in some faraway place, but right here in our neighborhood. As John 15 reminds us, Christ is the vine, and we are the branches, and we are called to bear fruit. Now, among my fondest memories will be the 3 Give Big blitzes. Now, these slides are going to go quickly, but you might just find yourself in one. What a difference they made, not only in the lives of those whose homes we helped, but also in our own lives as volunteers. And we celebrate today our open gym ministry, which is positively impacting the lives of young people and families in our neighborhood. And the difference we're making isn't just for today, but has the potential to be a lifetime change for these young people. And so I hope you take pride in this ministry and the ways that St. Paul's United Church of Christ at the corner of 12th and Michigan Streets is transforming lives. Now Jesus talks about bearing fruit that will last. That's the kind of fruit that has the potential to last. And I do want to mention someone else. I never knew the man. The late Florence Gold, who continues to bear fruit far beyond his lifetime through the very generous financial gift he gave us. Now here's a man whose mission, as well as his love for this church and this neighborhood, this very day helps make Open Gym and various other benevolence requests possible. Makes them happy. Now you're in the right church if the congregation embraces change to remain relevant now and for generations to come. I don't think it's going to come as any surprise to say to you that the church of the 1950s, when everyone was dealing with the problems of what to do with all the people and all the children, those days are long gone. I wish I could say that every Sunday looked like this Sunday, but we know that it's not true. And the church today is hardly the same as it was 12 years ago when I got here. In fact, it's not even the same as it was 5 years ago. Now, when I arrived at St. Paul's, the call to begin a contemporary worship experience was front and center. And it took a number of years, but I'm proud that we remain committed to offering 2 uniquely different quality worship experiences each week. Whether we like Change is part of our life. It's part of the life of the church. And as difficult as it may be, I think this quote puts it in perspective. Change is difficult. Not changing is faith. Now, as I was working on trying to dismantle my office, a project that I've been working on for weeks, and that I continue to work on. And if any of you have absolutely nothing to do with your time in the next couple of days, you might want to offer as you leave. But one of the things I found, it's amazing what you keep. One of the things I found were my notes from the very first time I talked to your search committee. It was a phone interview. We didn't have things like Skype and FaceTime back then. And the date on it was April 15, 2003. I mean, real close to 13 years ago. And we discussed a lot of things, and some of the things we discussed I put names next to, but some of them I didn't. But one of the things that they raised was that you never had a woman as a pastor, even as an associate. And someone in that interview joked, I can see your picture in the parlor right now, right next to all the guys. Well, you might want to go to the parlor if you're not here, because there it is. But this morning, I thank God for those of you who moved beyond the issue of my gender to simply embrace me as your pastor. One of the other things that was said in that interview, that one I did identify. It was Joanne Crane. She said, well, I think one wow sermon would make a difference. What I want to say to you today is I hope I've given you lots of wow sermons. I'm talking about sermons that when you walked out the door, you said, wow, our God is great. We worship an awesome God, because that's what it's all about. I am grateful for the privilege and the honor of serving as your pastor, and for the many ways you have invited me into your lives. As we reflect on our 125th anniversary, we're reminded of all those faithful folks throughout the years who went beyond what was safe and what was easy and what was comfortable to leave this legacy. We've been the benefactors of their vision and their depth of commitment that has made this church strong and vital and alive. And God's expectation is that He will continue to do the same for generations to come. In Paul's words from Ephesians 3:20, now to God, who by the power at work within us is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask or imagine, who by the power at work within us. Each and every person gathered here today is needed to make God's vision reality. Well, how about the ultimate reason you know that you're in the right church? If a congregation knows who they are and whose they are, because we're the body of Christ. We're called to share His message of love and forgiveness and reconciliation through all that we are and all that we do. And that's who we are. And we have been named and chosen and called by God. That's whose. To God be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus to all generations. forever and ever. Now, I know I've stretched a bit. My sermons aren't usually that long, and you don't usually have 50 PowerPoint slides. Thank goodness. But I want to take some time, and you don't need to run off to lunch, because most of you are staying right here for lunch anyway. But I just wouldn't feel right about leaving without talking about the great staff with whom I've had the privilege of working these past 12 years. It's going to take me a little bit because we've got a big staff. And I would ask that you hold any applause until the end. Now, Stacy Henderson, I don't even know Stacy, did she go back? She's back in the nursery, of course she is, because she makes sure each and every week that we have a safe, welcoming space for the children and the infants that come to our church. How important that room is. What do I say about the musicians? We are indeed blessed to have such talent. Amanda Bass, who originally came on to do Discovery Worship, took a vacation, left for a while, then came back and now does traditional music. Daphne Owen, who came on board as director of Discovery Music. Katie Maurer, our keyboardist, accompanist, our co-director of our Discovery Worship. Casey Gathercole, soloist, praise team leader, now co-director. Katie at Discovery Worship to Carolyn Howard, our organist. And of course, I have to say thanks to all the choirs and praise singers and bell choirs and praise band and brass players. And Rick Hobbs, who steps in all the time to play the keyboard or the organ or to sing and play, whatever we need. And I can't forget the sound techs. The people who run the visual and the sound each week for us at worship services, but also at funerals and weddings and anything else that happens in this church. And we've been blessed with two outstanding young men who also help the pastors who aren't so technically informed. That's Jacob Owen and TJ Clark. And Bill Barrett. Bill Barrett, who puts up those wonderful screens all over the building. I'll forget about the pictures he had of me today. But at any rate, he does a lot each week. Pam Shuck, our children's director, who's always ready to go the extra mile. She does a fantastic job with our children's ministry and also helps with our youth ministry. And when I need people to go with me because I can't find any parents to go, Pam always wins. Kim Armstrong, our director of youth ministry and outreach, whose passion for youth is outstanding and incredible, and what a difference she has made in our open gym ministry. And then Janine Kaler up in the balcony, who has a heart for those kids and boundless energy, who's been there with the open gym ministry since the start. And then there's Rick Hobbs, who's in the kitchen, and you've seen pictures of him in the kitchen. He's there. Linda Hobbs, Adam Hobbs. When Abby Hobbs is here from Hawaii, she's involved in open gym as well. Our custodians, Teresa Bogan, who helps keep this facility looking great, whose decorating flair people notice, who gives us a sanctuary at Christmas time that's absolutely breathtaking. The Chrissy Hedenbach, whose hard work and humor made life in the office a lot more fun. And then Jim Carnes came on board, who also works really hard, and he brought humor too. We're really grateful for that. And you gotta give Jim a lot of credit, because he's a guy, a male who works with all the women, and goes out for lunch with us, and I think we had a good time. Our office staff, Lisa Huck, who's become our assistant treasurer. She's working hard, learning all that that entails. It's a joy to have Lisa. Also has a great sense of humor, working in the office. Real positive addition to our staff. To Mary Peterson. We've been together for these 12 years. What a pleasure it's been to work with her. And to be a team. She's been a team with your pastors all along. And I made comments a couple weeks ago that she helps keep us in line, and you know what? It's really true. But as Mary said, we're so much alike, we can probably even finish each other's sentences. We know what the other's thinking. She always goes the extra mile. And even though she's retired, she's staying on. My pastoral colleagues, Dr. Bob Holt, who stepped up to help when the pastoral staff dropped from 2 to 1, very short time. Wouldn't have made it without his help calling and assisting in worship and being there on call, so I even got away for a week, badly needed week. Reverend Linda Presley. Great to have her on staff this past year. She's helped with adult ed, and she spearheaded our children worship and wonder, sharing and worship leadership and preaching every week. And she's done a fantastic job keeping up with our nursing home and our shut-in folks. They know they're valued and cared about because Linda has been there doing it. She's done a great job for us. So I say to you all, thank you all for the privilege of working with you, for your commitment to this church. Let's give them a hand, please. All of you.